Welcome to the Born Wild podcast. This space is for birth workers, parents, and families. Anyone drawn to a more honest, intuitive way of living, birthing, and growing. Here we have real conversations, learn through reflection and community, and make room to explore without judgment. Because at the end of the day, we are all born wild. Welcome back to the Born Wild podcast. I'm your host, Sophia Henderson, and today is April/May recap with Ava.
Hey,
Hi. You are sitting in my car in the driveway.
I was 10 minutes late, so Sophia banished me.
Not allowed to come in. No, my friend Chaz, who does all the editing, doesn't like when we're sitting together. So she's kicked to the curb. So we recorded the April recap and messed it up. I don't know what happened. It disappeared. So we're going to redo it and we're going to give it a May recap. So yeah, do you remember what April was like for you? Personal update?
Idea. I feel like it was the same. School and birth, and I went home for one night in April, back to Red Bluff, and saw my parents and my brother and sister, and that was nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've just been spending a lot of time with you.
Yeah, May has been Ava and Sophia hangout time.
Yeah, I think we spent like 80 hours together last week or
You
something.
calculated? I love it.
I was like, yeah, I did a rough calculation.
Yeah. Well, yesterday I calculated I drove 4.5 hours yesterday, just driving, not even an appointment.
My gosh.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. So let's see. April, my parents' foundation got poured. And even though it doesn't mean we are personally any closer to having our house, it feels exciting that somebody else is closer
Okay.
to having their house. Yeah, and Easter was sweet. My kids are still believers, and I'm just holding on to as much magic for them as I can. So every year I'm like, where are they with this year?
Remember, I was restocking something from our restock area, and I pull a bin down, and it's full of Easter gifts
Yeah.
that you're hiding from your kids.
Yeah.
I was like, these aren't IV fluids.
I thought you were going to say you found an egg.
No. No, they're very thorough in their hunt.
Actually, there is still an egg. I've been waiting for somebody to find it. Yeah.
Oh,
One of these days, I'm going to have to drop a hint. And then let's see, we went to a concert because my husband owns West Coast pedal boards. And when people hire him for boards and stuff, sometimes they'll gift us tickets to concerts if they're local. And so one of his clients, I don't know what else to call them, gave us tickets. And she was opening for Gary Newman, who I'm like, that sounds familiar. Researched him, pulled up like his top hits, played it for the kids, and they were like, okay. And I was like, well, it's just fun anyways. Live music, it doesn't have to be like your favorite band. And the music I played for them was very different than what he plays now. He has turned more goth emo, heavy metal kind of music. And when it came on, the kids were like, whoa. And it was, yes, just very entertaining. And the two men on either side were bald with almost like monk's robes and painted face with a painted line down it. And there was one point where they were kind of neck kissing each other and canoodling. And the kids were just like, whoa. But it was great. Gracie embraced her Wednesday Addams kind of like zombie vibes and was doing all this cute dancing. But we had a blast. And we started puppy training. Chili. I don't know, for anyone who's watching video. There's my dog. He's almost 4, and he doesn't act like a 4-year-old. So we started puppy training, and it's going well. Yeah, so that was our April. Skills days, we did NRP and basic life support with some other midwives. That was really fun. I feel like each time I do it, I'm just so much more confident. Picturing back to being a student and doing it versus now, like it's just, yeah, it's so great.
When I did it the first time, it was before I had ever even been to a birth or, like, started midwifery school. It was, like, a month before I started, so I had no idea what was going on. It was really helpful to do it again this time and have, like, some more experience and knowledge and, like, actually understand what was happening.
And even the languaging, there's only so much dumbed down the explanation of everything can be. And you're like, I don't know what we're talking about.
Mhm.
Yeah. I remember one thing as a student that made me the most nervous when we were doing those classes was because we always role play. And when it was my turn to be the person to call EMS, just
Mm,
the talking to someone on the phone and knowing what to say, I felt like so nervous about that part for some reason.
yeah.
Yeah. And then I bought a baby foot from China, just praying that it would, actually be a real thing for practicing heel pokes for the metabolic screen, for the newborn screen, because it's hard to practice that,
Mhm.
you get a shot on a baby and you want to do a good job. And so I thought it would be nice to have something that we could practice on. And it actually worked pretty well. I mean, we loaded it with way too much blood. That was our first mistake because when
Yeah.
Allie withdrew the needle, it was a crime scene. It just sprayed everywhere.
Spray everywhere.
Yeah, but once it stopped, like, profusely bleeding, then it got to the point where it was like, "Oh, yeah, you have to, like, squeeze it a little bit to get some to come off," and yeah, any thoughts about that? Like, what was trickier than you thought?
Aiming the drop was hard. I think just, like, understanding the, like, depth perception of it, because you have to catch the drops of blood on a piece of paper. You can't, like, dab the paper to the heel because then it makes it clot.
Mhm,
So just, like, holding the paper in the right spot to where the drop of blood would fall within one of the circles that you needed to fill was
mhm.
way harder
Yeah,
than Ali and I thought it would be.
and we didn't even throw in,
The
"Okay,
heel
pretend this
the
baby
newborn
is
moving his heel.
kicking and doesn't want you," because sometimes they don't like the poke, sometimes they don't like if you squeeze them, but sometimes we're holding their legs straight so that they're not bending their knee and kicking, because if they flail a piece of blood, you're like, "Oh, no."
Yeah,
You just
such
made
a
this
bummer.
take longer for yourself.
Mhm,
Yeah, so, next time I'll have to, like, shake the heel.
mhm.
Great. Well, we had 4 births in April. Do you wanna talk about the birth we had where we were managing decels?
Yeah, like from the beginning or just the details part?
Just like, yeah, kind of roughly the whole experience, just briefly.
Mhm. It was her first baby and, a long, early labor where she was calling and saying, like, "Do you have any ideas of, like, what else I can try?" Like, feeling pretty tired at some points, and we went and did an in-person check-in and just listened to baby and gave her some reassurance and left, and then I think later that night, we went and she was in active labor.
Yeah. And she was
Um,
surprised a
in
little
labor
because she's like, "This definitely feels like active labor," and when we went to check in on her, it was clearly still early, and I think she was
Yeah,
like, "Oh,
yeah.
okay."
It can get more intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got there and she labored through the night and Sophie and I spelled each other. We slept in our cars, which was funny because the next morning, her husband said, "Oh, there's actually a little cottage over there with a bed in it that you can sleep in." We're like, "Good to know.
And
Hopefully we won't
bathroom.
be here." And
Yeah,
another bathroom.
because I had
Yeah,
peed
because we were peeing
outside
outside.
on a bunch of newts. There was, like, these newts all over the ground. I was like, "Oh my."
Yeah. Yeah, the mom was in the only bathroom in the house, and when you gotta go, you gotta go. And then baby sounded great throughout the night and most of the day. And then when she started pushing, we were hearing some decels. So we tried switching position and doing some scalp stimulation for the baby just to make sure they were recovering. And they were getting pretty low at points, but recovering pretty quickly and getting back up to a range where we felt comfortable. But there was a point where the mom asked, like, "Can I do this, Sophia, do you think?" And you're like, "I don't know. Do you think you can? Like,
Yeah.
let's get this baby out."
I was like, "'Cause, if we're gonna do it, we should do it now," you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So she had hard work and we went back to the birth stool. We'd already been there quite a few times, but went back there and her first contraction back on the stool. Baby was born in one push, and needed a little bit of help once they were out, a few breaths and then a little bit of CPAP, and then they were good. They had some, like, tachypnea, but their oxygen levels were good and a little bit grunting,
Mhm.
but overall went the best we could hope for.
Yeah, nothing some like skin to skin couldn't help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. I almost forgot to share the best part of the whole story is one time when she was sitting on the birth stool, not about to push her baby out, but pushing. She had wanted me to do some internal pressure to help guide her, like, yeah, push here. Yes, I could feel the baby moving down, some reassurance. She found that helpful. And so I was gloved up and sterile, but I could feel something crawling on me. I thought it was a hair tickling my chest. And then I looked down and I'm like, is there a tick crawling on me? And the mom, like mid push, reaches down and grabs this tick off me. And Ava's behind me and she goes to hand it to Ava. And Ava goes, no. And what Ava meant to say was, let me get a tissue. But
I
out,
panicked.
it came out as no. And I looked at her and I said, she's pushing her baby out. Take the tick. And then it also came out again, no. And so we gave Ava crap for it for a while after, and
I
we all
ended up getting the tick, I just needed to find the tweezers.
laughed. Yeah. But we all kinda laughed about it with some, like, levity in the room, and it's one of
Yeah.
my favorite stories.
Glad everyone knows now.
Yeah. Great. Well, what about the birth where we had retained placenta? You wanna talk about that one?
Mhm. Yeah, so this mom, um, her labor started with her waters opening, but no labor.
Mhm.
And, there was some waiting and wondering, "When are things gonna start, and was it actually my water?" And, we didn't swab with an amnicator and weren't really sure if it was positive or not. There wasn't enough fluid when she swabbed it, and then ended up having a swab that was obvious that it was her waters and it was amniotic fluid. So then she was like, "Okay, I'm done waiting. I wanna do some encouragement of labor." So she drank, I think, a teaspoon of castor oil, just like a tiny bit, because normally people will do a dose is 2 tablespoons. So she did much less than that, and it worked. And she went into labor and labored through the night and the next day, like, still early but intense, and we ended up going 24 hours after she had taken the castor oil, and, things were really going.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, her active labor was, pretty quick, and, she didn't push for too long and had her baby in the tub, and that was really special,
Was, like,
and
day 4 after her waters broke?
might have been more like 6.
Was it I couldn't remember because I know it's happened a couple times where it was 6, and I couldn't remember if this was also 6. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, like, around day 5, I think she was like, "Let's do something."
yeah,
And maybe she had even been doing other things, like breast pump here and there, but it got to the point where we were like, "If you really wanna get it done, just, like, do all the things you're comfortable with at once," you know?
yeah, yeah, and it worked.
It did.
And, when the baby was born, her husband wanted to be the first one to speak to the baby, so he, like, whispered a little prayer, or we didn't hear exactly what he said, maybe it was a song. But then as soon as he was done speaking, the baby started crying, which was so cute. It was like, she was waiting for him to be done, and
Yeah.
then she immediately cried, and it was really special.
Mhm.
And, then right away, the mom was like, "What about the placenta?" And we were like, "Don't worry about the placenta, like, enjoy time with your baby." And it had been, like, 1 minute since birth or
Which is
something.
so interesting now that you say that because I haven't transferred very often. Of 3 moms I've transferred, and one of the other moms that we transferred for retained placenta, she also was like, "I gotta get the placenta out." And it's
Yeah.
interesting, was there some intuition from the mom, or was there this urgency with the placenta that led to maybe a shift in hormones that makes it harder for the placenta to come out?
Mhm.
Or were they just totally
Looking back on
unrelated?
it, it feels like they're connected
Mhm.
because I feel like more often we have to remind people, like, "Okay, the placenta's still
Yeah.
inside, be thinking about that," like, we want to think about cramps and getting it out, not 1 minute after birth,
Yeah.
but she was, thinking about it immediately.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so, I think she tried, some, like, things in the tub to help encourage placenta to be ready, and then got out and, was on hands and knees on the bed, and then on the birth stool, and we were doing some gentle cord traction. And you were doing it, Sophia, and noticed that it was developmentis, where the vessels insert into the membrane rather than directly into the placenta. So we stopped doing cord traction because we didn't want to rupture a membrane. And at that point, it had been maybe an hour since birth, and the mom had wanted to cut the cord just so it was easier to hand baby to dad, and we could just really focus on getting placenta out. So we stopped all cord traction, and we're trying other things to get the placenta out. Her fundus had started rising, which is a sign that her uterus was filling with blood, which is one of the reasons that you want to get the placenta out because it's easier to assess blood loss when you see it coming out. But when the placenta can act as like a cork, keeping blood inside, or when the placenta's in, the uterus can't contract fully.
Or it's like a partial separation, and so it's still attached, but not
Mhm,
fully.
mhm. So when her uterus started rising, we are like, okay, we want to really focus on this now and take it seriously. And she opted for trying Pitocin. We'd been doing herbs all along to encourage more cramping and help the placenta come, and she wasn't feeling any cramps.
Mhm. Yeah.
We tried breast pump to encourage cramps. She didn't feel anything.
We gave her an IV, just to kinda, like, buy us time and help replenish any fluids that she was losing.
And she opted to try for Pitocin to get some cramping going and seeing if that would help get the placenta out, and she didn't feel any cramps with a dose of Pitocin. And so then we talked with her about trying a manual removal and risks and benefits of that, and that if she transferred to the hospital, that's what they would do, but that they would have pain medication. And she
Mm.
said she really didn't want to transfer. She wanted to try doing it at home. So Sophia attempted to manually remove it, and it was just hard. The mom was so tense. It was hard. Or do you want to
Yeah,
explain?
it was just too painful for her. I
Yeah.
wasn't able. I could get in a little bit, and then she was like, "No, no, no." I would just grab a clot and just try to get the clot out at least, but I wasn't even able to reach the placenta. Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're like, "Okay, let's go in and get you some pain meds, and they can get it out there." Yeah,
Hmm.
and, we did call an ambulance because we weren't gonna try to, like, get her in the car, but I told them, "We don't need lights and sirens. She's stable. Everything's good here. We just need a ride to the hospital."
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, EMS, they were really nice, which was awesome. They kept the environment as peaceful as it can be when 30 men in uniforms come into your home birth.
Yeah, and we had
Uh,
got a diaper on her and a robe, so she didn't feel so exposed.
yeah.
Mhm,
And the gurney wouldn't fit into the room, so she got carried out
mhm,
by these people, and the dad and the baby chose to stay home because they wanted to avoid baby going into the hospital. So she went in the ambulance, and Sophia and I followed in separate cars and met her there.
mhm, and Allie was there. She stayed behind to clean up, and you guys actually both stayed to do the newborn exam,
Yeah.
and just do quick check on see what that all looks like. And then when I was at the hospital with her, they attempted a manual removal with some pain meds, and it was too hard, still too painful. And so she opted to go into the OR and be intubated and have the placenta removed. And the doctor said it was a really hard removal that she was like, I don't know why the placenta was adhered as strongly as it was, but they didn't need to like do surgery. She was able to remove it, which is great. Um, but yeah, so then eventually, because she needed some blood transfusions and things like that, we were like to the dad, "You should just come, like, bring the baby, come." And so they stayed there, eventually went home, and her postpartum has been pretty smooth other than obviously processing that piece of her story, and then also, like, her throat is still just, like, really raw from the intubation, we assume. She just, like, can't really talk more than a whisper, and it's just kind of, like, annoying to her at this point, so we were like, "Well, you might wanna consider going and getting checked out just to make sure there wasn't any physical damage that was done from the intubation." Yeah, so that was a lot, and mom and baby are doing good.
Okay.
Um, what about our big baby we had, our chunky little monkey?
Mhm. That it was her second baby, and, her husband had called us, one morning and was like, "I think it's time you guys should come." And we got there, and things kinda fizzled out, and it was still too early, and we hung out for a little bit, but it was kind of clear that it wasn't time for us to be there. So we left and did our appointments for that day, knowing that it would probably be later that night, and it was. He called us, and it was definitely ready or definitely, like, active labor this time, and, she had her baby in the water, and, the baby came out, and we were all like, "That's a big baby." And, I think she was, like, 10.6,
Yeah, or
maybe?
10-4, I think.
Yeah, and the mom had said, "I'm glad I didn't know how big she was because I would have been really nervous."
Yeah,
But
she's not like a big woman, she's, like, as tall as I am.
yeah, the baby came out, fit through her pelvis. She did, like, change positions, once the head came out. I think she put maybe a leg up into a lunge or went to hands and knees, and, baby came out on her own, and, it was really sweet, and we just did our 6-week visit
Mhm,
for her yesterday or day before.
mhm.
Um, and baby's still growing.
Yeah. Bigger.
Big girl. Yeah.
What about, the birth we went to that was pretty quick, and then the baby had, some interesting booty things going on?
Yeah, that birth, it was her second, and her husband called, I had the on-call phone, he called at, like, 6 that morning, and I was already up, and he was like, "My wife's in labor, I think it's time for you to come." I was like, "Okay, I believe you." So, Sophia and I left and headed there, and at first we were just gonna grab, like, a couple things and check in and then go back to the car, and then Sophia was like, "I think we should grab everything." I was like, "I think so too." So we grab all the bags and walk in, and she's, definitely pushing, and the baby was born, like, 8 minutes after we got there or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
and she caught her own baby in the tub, and it was really sweet. The cat was very interested when
Yes.
the baby cried. She, like, ran over to the tub and was, like, peeking her head over the edge.
Yeah.
Um
Actually, I put a video of the birth with permission online, and it went viral.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was, like, almost 1,000,000 views.
Very vernixy baby, too.
Yeah, yeah.
So sticky. I was listening with the stethoscope to vitals. I could, like, barely peel it off her
Yeah.
chest.
Like, when you lifted the baby up, the chucks pad would come and stick to her back.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and I
usually it's, like, hours by the time we do the newborn exam, and they've absorbed a lot of the vernix, but she was just like, "No, I'm gonna
it's
keep it."
so much.
Mhm.
I went grocery shopping after that birth because your day still continues, and I had, like, vernix on my arm still from the birth. I had washed my, like, hands and arms, and, soap and water doesn't do anything to vernix.
No, it repels it.
Yeah, so that was funny.
Yeah, cute.
Um, yeah, you can talk about the baby's booty.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember exactly when, but she was pooping and then we weren't getting as many poops as we would think. And then I think they went to the doctor to check things out and they gave her like a suppository and she pooped a bunch and they went home and then later she developed this like cyst is what the mom thought it was above her butt crack and it ruptured and leaked. And so they went to urgent care just to check out, make sure everything was fine. And it was. At one point, I think the very first visit when they said, when they were working with getting her bowels to move, the mom had mentioned the baby was born at home. And she said all of a sudden everything changed. And the person she was dealing with just started saying, like, I think your baby has spina bifida and all these things, even though there's no grounds for that. And so, but they ended up doing
And they
some,
said cystic fibrosis.
yeah.
Ew.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. They were just like, we think this, we think this. She was like, you didn't think that before I told you I had a home birth. So it was interesting, but they ruled everything out because then, of course, she was like, now the seed's been planted in my head. And, but yeah, it was just a
Mhm,
cyst. She didn't need to do anything other than, bandage it and watch the drainage, and it healed fine on its own. But yeah, that was the first time I had seen that.
mhm.
Mhm. And the mom has a lot of experience with animal and vet. She was like a vet tech and things like that. So she's like, I've seen this before. Like, I've seen cysts. And she felt like she knew right away what it was. And she didn't seem concerned about it. She's like, no, it's just going to drain and heal. But because of the placement along the spine, they wanted her to be seen, rule out that there's no like spinal fluid leaking, something like that. But yeah, healed well. And that was April. And now we're just finishing
Ah,
up May. Um, yeah, Allie got married in May. We went to her wedding. That was really sweet.
yeah.
Obviously, she was not on call that day, but the fact that we were able to attend the wedding too was really great, and it was
Mhm.
beautiful. Her dress was gorgeous. I'm kicking myself for not getting a picture of the back of her dress. So pretty. Yeah, and
And
my
Sophia's kids were essentially in the wedding.
yeah, it was Orthodox Catholic church, and so everyone's standing, and the couple kind of, like, almost works their way down the aisle and pauses, and, somebody had invited my kids to the front by the aisle so that they could see better, and they were like, "Okay." But then, yeah, at one point, it seemed like Ben was maybe in the wedding. I don't know if he was, like, marrying them or getting married with them, but he was really
Yeah.
right up in there, but it was really cute. And Ben also turned 11, and we had a fun day together. Um, and then we worked on for skills, fetal heart tones we reviewed, especially after like the decels. When we have births like that, we're like, okay, let's refresh everything. We had this experience, let's review it and play devil's advocate and think, what could we have done different or better? Is there anything we could have improved? What did we do awesome at? And then let's do a skills day where we really break it all down and just re-ingrain everything into our heads. So that was good. And
Mhm.
then we reviewed group B strep because it's not very often that somebody actually is positive and then wants us to give antibiotics, but it's possible. I've actually not had anybody. I've only done antibiotics for one person. It was for another midwife's client. And I can't remember why, but she wanted my support. But we want to remember all the steps and like how to administer it when somebody does want us to do it. So we just reviewed everything and dosage instructions and how to draw it up and reconstitute it. And was that your first time doing a skills day for GBS? Yeah.
Yeah. I have never been at a birth where someone wanted, antibiotics,
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
it was good hands-on practice. Obviously, I've done homework assignments on it, and we've
Right.
talked about it, but doing it with your hands is very different.
Yes. Yeah. Great. And then we had 4 births. Why don't you talk about the fast birth we had? I mean, I feel like we just talked about a fast birth, but
Yeah.
the other fast birth, those second time mamas.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they had messaged in the chat and said that she was having some, like, contractions starting at, like, 5 a.m. that morning, and we're like, "Okay, it's normal for things to slow down during the day, just keep us posted." And then he had messaged and said, "Things, seems like they've intensified, I'm gonna start timing," and then he was like, "She just threw up," and this was all in the chat, and I looked at my phone and saw those messages and looked at the contraction timer, and I was like, "They're all 2 minutes apart, lasting a minute," and it's been like that for a while now, and he still hasn't called. So I was like, "I'm gonna call him." So I
Mhm.
called, the dad, and, I was like, "If you're happy, just the 2 of you, that's fine. I just wanna let you know that normally we would be there at this point. This would be a time for us to come." And he was like, "Well, I'll ask her," and, I could hear on the other
Well,
side
they
of the
had
phone.
their first baby at home, so, like, a lot of times they're like, "Oh, it's gotta get so much more intense,"
Yeah,
but, like, the second baby's very different.
yeah. And the mom had said, like, "Well, I don't know." I think she was hesitant to, like, call us too early,
Mhm,
and they're like, "I guess you could come now." Well, he was like, "It'd be good to have extra hands here." So I was, leaving from my house, and Sophia was, a little bit behind me, and I got there, and she was, definitely pushing,
mhm,
and she had her baby, like, 10 minutes
mhm.
after.
I know when I was on my way, there was so many things that kept getting in my way. The first one was a car towing another car that they should not have been towing with, like, hazard lights on a one-way street, and there was, like, 8 other cars behind them besides me, and we were all like, "Come on, pull over." Eventually, they did, and I went, and then as I was going again, there was a truck that pulled across our lanes, but somebody was pulling out of a driveway, and they kind of got in each other's way and couldn't resolve it, and so I was stuck behind them, and when that one happened, I was like, "I'm not supposed to make it to this part." I just had a feeling. I'm like, everything keeps stopping me. Yes. So you really primaried that one.
Yeah. I mean, the dad really primaried it. He caught the baby, and I was just there, watching.
Yeah.
It was, sweet seeing them as a pair, and their friend was there as their doula, and, she didn't make it in the tub, there wasn't enough hot water.
Yeah.
It was, like, halfway filled, and I felt it when I got there, and I was like, "This is cold."
Had she taken a shower before too? Was
She
that
took a shower, a
Yeah.
long shower before that drained the hot water.
Yeah, it's hard when you think like, "Oh, it's probably gonna be a while," and then you do that and you're like, "Oh, this
Yeah.
is my" because she had a water birth the first time, but
Yeah,
now
she
she's
got
had both.
shower. Yeah,
Mm.
land and water,
Yeah.
and it was really sweet.
What about our first time mom that transitioned really quickly?
Yeah.
That was
That
a
that was
surprise.
a fun one. Her labor started with her waters breaking, and, I think she had some light cramping pretty soon after that, like, a couple of days of that where she just, like, the hard early labor, and, we were doing morning and evening check-ins, and then the dad called me, like, midday, maybe the 3rd day after her waters had been opened, and, he was like, "Seems like things, like, just got intense, and she's, feeling, like, pretty discouraged," and I was like,
That's great.
"Okay, why don't" Yeah, I like to hear that. "Why don't you, time things for an hour, and we'll see if they stay intense, and we'll check in after an hour." And I was with my friends, we were about to go to a clothing swap, so I was like, "Let's go right now, I have an hour because
Mhm.
he's gonna time these contractions, and then, I'll no more." So, we leave, we get to the clothing swap, and the dad calls me, and he was like when he calls me, I can hear the mom on the other end of
But
the phone.
it was only 15 minutes later, it wasn't the full hour when he called.
No, it was 13 minutes. Yeah,
Yeah.
so quick, and he was like, "She's pushing," and I was, "Yeah, I can hear." So, I, like, leave my friends at the clothing swap, they had to walk home.
Yeah, you called me, I was at a birthday party with the kids, and I looked at one of my girlfriends there, I was like, "I have to go, can you make sure they get home?" And I
Yeah,
just left. She's like, "Bye."
yeah, the things that, yeah, happen when you're on call and drive others.
Yeah, I was like, "I abandoned my children at a birthday party."
Yeah. So we both rushed to the birth, and you got there before me, and you texted me, and you're like, "She's definitely pushing." And
Mhm,
I was like, "Oh, no, I hope I make it." I was, like, 15 minutes behind you, and luckily I did, and she
mhm.
had a water birth, and she had, like, the cutest baby ever.
Yeah.
A little, like, chin dimple and cheek dimples. I was like, "Your baby's so cute, I might cry," which doesn't happen to me. I like babies, but I'm not, like, obsessed with babies.
Mhm.
The
Something hormonally shifted for
baby
Ava
changed me.
with this baby.
Such a cute baby. I don't know.
And they kept saying, like, one of the postpartums, they're like, "Okay, so everyone keeps telling us how cute our baby is, but, like, everyone's just saying that. That's just what you say about babies, right?" And Ava,
Yeah.
with tears in her eyes, was like,
I was
"Your
like, "I
baby's
don't say this to everyone."
special. Your baby's special." Yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty cute.
Yeah.
And the mom's just thrilled and like, "I want so many babies, and I'd be happy to try again right now."
Yeah. Yeah, it's really sweet.
Yeah. Um, what about our mama who just had preeclampsia,
Mhm.
which doesn't happen very often, but it
No,
happened.
yeah, it was the first, person whose care I've been a part of where they had preeclampsia, and, she went very far post dates with her last baby. So this time she was doing some things to encourage labor. Just she didn't want to go as far past her due date this time. And we were all happily surprised when she started having contractions, I think the day after her due date. And she was really happy and excited. And she had a few days of early labor. We did a few different in person check ins. And she felt like she wasn't, like, peeing as much as, she was drinking. So we went and gave her a catheter and, like, not that much urine came out, so then we gave her some IV
Well,
fluid.
the first day we saw her, it was before that was a problem. She just felt like things were so intense that I think she thought maybe she was farther along. But we
And she wanted us to listen to Baby.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She wasn't feeling baby move as much. And so we went and listened to baby and we dipped her urine and it was like beautiful color. Everything was perfect with the urine. Her vitals were fine. Baby sounded great. She had asked about like, should you check me vaginally? And we're like, if you want to, but we just think this is early labor, you know? And so then we went home.
Mhm. And then the next day.
The next day, she was like, I feel like I'm not peeing as much. So we
Mhm.
came to check on her in person and we ended up attempting catheters. You could talk about that.
Mhm. Yeah, and we were just getting a few drips of urine out. So the first catheter, we were like, maybe there's something wrong with this catheter. Maybe it got clogged somehow with mucus or lubricant or something. So then we did a second catheter and same thing happened. So then we were like, let's hydrate you really well and see if you're able to like pee more. So we gave her 2 bags of fluids and she started to feel better, was able to like eat more and was peeing more. And we dipped that and it looked a lot different than her urine the night before. We're like, it seems like you need to hydrate a lot more than what you thought. Like your body just uses so much during labor, and especially when you aren't eating.
Mhm.
A lot of your hydration comes from your food as well. So when you're not eating anything, you have to drink more to make up for that.
Mhm.
Um, and baby sounded good again, and her vitals were good. So we left her with instructions to just really hydrate, focus on hydrating, adding minerals and electrolytes, and replenishing her body really well.
Yeah. And then so the
Yeah.
next day she called to do like our morning, we do like evening, morning check ins. We were doing evenings in person. And she was just like, I feel like something's wrong. You know, she had weighed herself and she had gained 10 pounds. Her belly just seemed really big. I felt like there was one thing. Oh no, I think just like she just felt like something was wrong. And I was like, okay, let's take that seriously. She just really felt like her bladder was full and that just something couldn't come out. And I was like, well, we could come and try another catheter, but let's do something more definitive. Let's get you an ultrasound because they'll know right away if your bladder's full or not. So she didn't want to go to the hospital. So we had a private sonographer come to the house who was able to like leave right away and go see her right away to check on her bladder. And I was like, okay, call me if there's something wrong, like, and it's full and needs to be drained. Or you could just text me, everything's fine. So I got a message that everything was fine. I was like, okay, good. And so then a little while later, I called the sonographer to check in, and she said that she couldn't visualize her bladder. She thinks baby was so low that she just couldn't see it. And then she was saying some other things, but I was just like so distracted by the fact that she couldn't find her bladder because it just didn't give me reassurance. I felt like, okay, well, why can't you find the bladder? And it was like, I know this is so rare, but could a bladder like rupture? Could it leak? Like if it got so full? And she was like, well, that's possible, but usually that's like blunt force trauma. But when I was like researching symptoms of that, it really was like a lot of the things that she was reporting. And so I was like, this is probably not what's going on. And you feel like something's wrong. You've gained 10 pounds. You feel horrible. Like, this is abnormal, Like, let's just go in and get you checked out. And so they went to the hospital with the plan that mainly they were going to get the bladder checked and just like overall see how she's doing. And if anything seemed off, we were going to join her at the hospital. Otherwise, she would just go home if everything was fine. Um, her bladder looked great, but when they did labs, she was developing severe preeclampsia. And so her kidneys weren't making fluid. But that feeling of being full that she was experiencing was all this retained fluid, and the weight gain and all that. She wasn't having any headaches. When we had checked her blood pressure, it was not too high. But then at the hospital, her systolic number was high, but also she's like, well, I'm stressed. It could be just that. But with the lab results and everything, we're like, okay, this is what's going on. So we joined her there. And do you want to tell the rest?
Yeah, we got to the hospital at, like, 7:30 that night, and, they had checked her, and I think she was 7 centimeters when she got there,
But she was
and had
thrilled.
already dilated to 8 since she'd been there. That's great,
Yeah.
because she was also a VBAC mom
Yeah.
and hadn't had a baby vaginally, and she was very, very, very passionate about wanting to have this baby vaginally. So we were so excited that she was far along and the hospital was supporting her
Mhm.
and having a VBAC.
And not only a VBAC, but she had had a myomectomy before she
Mhm,
ever had a pregnancy. So she had a fibroid removed from her uterus. And then with her first, because of going so far post dates, had another uterine surgery. So she was like a two-time VBAC, but had only had one child.
mhm. Yeah, so we were so glad that she was dilating. Just, she'd already had a hard time up to this point. It was great to see that going her way, and eventually she made it to 10 centimeters. Her son was in the hospital with us. He's like 2.5, and he was just like partying all night. The dad was trying to get him to go to sleep, and he just did not want to sleep. He was dancing, he was playing Legos, he was like so wired. So yeah, I finally got him to sleep at, like, 1:30 in the morning. I was like, "If somebody were asking me to sleep right now, I would go to sleep." Like, we're all tired, and he's just so much energy.
Yeah.
And the mom's pushing, and, the doctor comes in and, says, "You've been pushing for 3 hours, most people would have had their baby by now. I think we need to talk about either using vacuum to help it get this baby out or maybe moving towards a cesarean." And her husband went out in the hallway and talked to the doctor and said, "Cesarean's off the table for us unless it's an absolute emergency to save baby or mama." And the doctor respected that. And he was like, "Why don't I bring in another doctor just to get some second opinion?" There was some other eyes on this case, and that doctor came in and checked her, and she was like, "Your baby's right here. Let's just push him out."
Mhm.
And that was great to have new energy in the room and someone that was like, "Yeah, you can do this. Your baby's so close." So she was doing some internal pressure and just helping stretch the mom's tissues, and did end up at the very end using vacuum to assist the delivery. And her baby came out.
Yeah, one
And
one push with the vacuum. Mhm.
yeah, got to stay on her chest the whole time, never went to the warmer. And when we saw her postpartum, she said that it wasn't the home birth that she wanted, but it was a dreamy birth to her. And she's just so glad that she got her VBAC. And yeah, it was really
Yeah.
special.
And she felt also they both felt like it was really healing to their relationship to see her husband really stand up for her. It was really good. And that this hospital was a different hospital than the last one they had gone to. And they just felt like way more respected. Like he said, I need to advise you on a repeat C-section, and if you wanna do this vaginally, I fully will support you, and he honored that. He didn't then, like, make her feel bad about her choice. So, it was a great team, great hospital, and, yeah, she had her vaginal birth. She's so happy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then we just had a birth Tuesday. Do you wanna talk about that one?
Mhm. Yeah, it was a family that it was your third time supporting them with
Mm,
a home birth, which was really special.
yeah.
And they had two girls with you before. And this one was a surprise. We got there at like 3 a.m. and the baby was born at 3:22, I
Mm,
think.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she started pushing it kind of like right when we got there.
Mhm,
Um, and she was in her own personal tub, and her dog was really sweet, coming over and like licking her hand and just really wanting to be present in the action.
mhm,
um, and her husband caught the baby. The baby was all tangled up in their cord, like their body and around their neck, and I kind of helped hold the baby while the dad untangled them. And they were in the tub together. And then Sophia, you were like, "Did you just say he or something?" Like they were talking about the baby and they said him or he. And then you were like, "Is it a boy?" And they got their third baby. It was a boy, which was
yeah.
special.
I was recording the birth, and then I was like, I'm gonna record long enough for them to announce, if it's a boy or girl. And they both clearly saw and took it in together in their own silent moment because there was no necessarily announcement. So I
Yeah.
was like, have they seen yet? Like I couldn't tell. And then when they said he, I was like, oh, is it a boy? So it was really
Mhm.
sweet that it's a boy. Yeah.
And she got her third home birth.
Yes. Yeah. Great. Well, that's our April, May recap, and I'll see you inside in a minute. Thanks for listening to the Born Wild podcasts. Find us on Instagram or email bornwildpodcasts@gmail.com. If this episode supported you, please share it and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It'll help more families find us. This podcast is for education and storytelling only and is not medical or individualized health advice. And as always, stay wild.